Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. For years, I believed my marriage was solid. Not movie perfect, not fireworks every night, but stable, safe. The kind of relationship people point at and say, yeah, they've got it together. My husband, Ethan, was a rising executive at a Silicon Valley tech firm. Long hours, big meetings, bigger ego. Me, I worked in marketing at a mid-sized company. Nothing flashy, but I was good at it. Damn good, actually. We lived in a clean, modern townhouse, took one decent vacation a year, and posted just enough smiling photos to fool everyone, including me. Somewhere along the way, though, I stopped feeling like a partner and started feeling like background noise. Ethan didn't change overnight. It was subtle, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Conversations turned into checklists. Did you pay the utility bill? We're having dinner with the Thompsons, don't be late. When I talked about my day, his eyes stayed glued to his phone. I told myself this was normal. Long marriages get boring, right? You just power through. The loneliness hit hardest at night. Ethan would lock himself in his home office, claiming deadlines, while I sat on the couch pretending to watch shows I didn't care about. That's when something unexpected happened. Something that quietly flipped a switch inside me. One sleepless night, scrolling mindlessly, I saw an ad for a Japanese language app. I laughed at first. I'd taken Japanese in college years ago, back when I still had dreams that weren't impractical. Out of pure boredom, I downloaded it. Turns out my brain hadn't forgotten. Not even close. The characters came back fast. Too fast. Within weeks, I was hooked. While Ethan obsessed over stock charts and business news, I sat at the kitchen table with earbuds and grinding lessons like my life depended on it. Podcasts, tutors, online study groups, Japanese dramas, first with subtitles, then without. I didn't tell Ethan, not because I was hiding something shady, but because I'd learned the hard way that anything I care about would get brushed off. 3 years earlier, I'd mentioned wanting to take a photography class. He laughed, not cruelly, worse, casually, like my idea didn't even deserve seriousness. You already take pics on your phone. Why waste money? After that, I stopped sharing. Japanese became mine, my secret power. And I got good, like scary good, about a year later. Ethan came home early one evening, practically buzzing. That alone was weird. He loosened his tie, grabbed a beer, and said, "Big news. We're about to close a partnership with a Japanese tech firm. Their CEO is coming to town next week. I'm hosting a high-end dinner, and you're coming with me." I nodded, already sensing where this was going. He explained it was about optics, family man, stable image. Then he added, "You'll mostly just smile. Tanaka doesn't speak much English. I'll handle the Japanese." That was the moment my stomach dropped, because I understood every single word he just said. And suddenly, this wasn't just a dinner anymore. It was an open window into the life Ethan thought I couldn't see. I had spent over a year mastering a language my husband didn't even know I spoke. And in exactly 7 days, he was about to reveal who he really was, right in front of me, without realizing I could understand everything. The week before the dinner felt unreal, like I was living inside slow motion. Ethan strutted around the house like he was already promoted, taking calls, dropping buzzwords, acting like the deal was basically signed. Meanwhile, I was doing something very different. Every spare second, I was sharpening my Japanese, formal business phrases, honorifics, negotiation language. I didn't know what I expected to hear that night, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't walking in blind. Thursday came fast. Ethan told me exactly what to wear. Navy dress, modest heels. Nothing distracting. Translation? Don't embarrass me. I looked in the mirror before we left and realized I looked exactly how he wanted. Polished, quiet, forgettable. The perfect accessory. And yeah, that stung. The restaurant was one of those ultra-fancy San Francisco spots where everything costs too much and the lighting makes people feel important. Ethan used the company card, of course. As we walked in, he leaned toward me and whispered, "Just be pleasant. Don't jump into business talk. If Tanaka speaks English to you, keep it short. I smiled and nodded like the obedient wife he thought I was. Mr. Tanaka stood to greet us. A sharp man, silver hair, calm eyes. The kind of guy who reads people before trusting them. Ethan bowed slightly. I followed. They exchanged greetings in Japanese, formal and smooth. I slid into my chair and did what I've been trained to do for years. Look pretty and stay quiet. At first, the conversation stayed in English. Small talk, compliments, travel chatter. Then naturally it shifted into Japanese. Ethan's fluency was impressive, I'll give him that. Confident, polished, but the more he talked, the more I noticed something else. He wasn't just speaking Japanese. He was performing, selling himself hard. Then Tanaka glanced at me and asked, in Japanese, what I did for work. Before I could even fake confusion, Ethan answered for me. He smiled and said in Japanese, my wife works in marketing, but it's nothing serious. More like something to keep her busy. She mainly handles the home. I felt something snap inside my chest. Nothing serious. Keep her busy. I kept my face neutral, but inside, rage. I'd spent over a decade building a career, running campaigns, handling clients, and he just turned it into a cute little hobby. Tanaka nodded politely, but his eyes flicked at me for half a second longer than necessary, like he was filing something away. As dinner continued, the truth kept spilling out. Ethan took credit for projects he barely touched, talked over Tanaka, oversold his influence. In Japanese, he sounded bolder, almost cocky. Then the conversation drifted to work-life balance. Big mistake. Ethan laughed and said, honestly, my wife doesn't really get the business world. She's happy with a simple life. I make the important decisions. She's mostly there for appearances. There it was. 12 years of marriage reduced to a punchline. Then came the part that made my blood go ice cold. Ethan casually mentioned moving money, strategic planning, offshore accounts, keeping things flexible just in case. He talked like I was already an inconvenience, something to manage, not a person. And then he mentioned another woman, a co-worker, finance department, 6 months. Said it like it was no big deal, like he was bragging. I sat there smiling while my entire world burned down. Tanaka shifted uncomfortably, changed the subject. His tone cooled. The dinner wrapped up faster than expected. When we stood to leave, Tanaka bowed to me and said carefully, it was a pleasure meeting you, Mrs. Lane. Something in his eyes told me he knew, or at least suspected. The drive home was silent. Ethan hummed, completely satisfied. That went great, he said. This deal is basically locked. I stared out the window and thought, you have no idea what you just locked yourself into. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. Instead, I made one phone call that would quietly set his entire life on fire. The moment we got home, Ethan kissed my cheek like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just torn me apart over dinner in a language he thought I couldn't understand. He muttered something about emails, disappeared into his office, and shut the door, just like always. I stood in the bedroom for a long time, staring at the wall, letting everything replay in my head. The lies, the affair, the money he was quietly funneling away. The way he talked about me like I was furniture. That was the worst part. Not the cheating, not even the money. It was the fact that he truly believed I was too small to notice any of it. That's when I picked up my phone and called Maya. Maya had been my college roommate. Ride or die energy back in the day. Life distance. And Ethan's constant, you don't need to see her attitude had slowly pushed her out of my life. She was a divorce attorney now. Irony at its finest. She answered on the second ring. Hey, what's wrong? She asked. I need a lawyer, I said, and my voice finally cracked. We talked for nearly 2 hours. I told her everything. The dinner, the Japanese conversation, the offshore accounts, the affair, all of it. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she said something that hit harder than anything else that night. He's not planning to leave you someday. He already has. He just didn't bother telling you. Then she got practical, told me not to confront him. Not yet. Said the smartest move was to stay quiet and start collecting proof. Bank statements, Emails, tax documents, anything with numbers on it. If he's hiding money, she said, there's always a trail. Always. The next morning, I called in sick. Ethan barely looked up from his phone when I told him. The second his car left the driveway, I went straight to his home office. I wasn't snooping anymore. I was investigating. Ethan was organized, almost arrogant about it. He didn't think I'd ever look. I found bank statements going back years. 2 accounts I'd never seen before. Transfers adding up to tens of thousands. I photographed everything, uploaded it to a private folder Maya set up for me. Then I found emails. Investment properties I didn't know existed. Accounts in his name only. And finally, messages from her. Flirty at first, then explicit, then plans. One email ended with, once I handle the situation at home, we can stop hiding. The situation at home. That was me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt clear, calm in a way that scared me. For the next 6 weeks, I played my role perfectly. Cooked dinner, asked about his day, smiled, let him think I was clueless. Meanwhile, Maya was building a case that could wreck him. Financial fraud, ethical violations, marital asset concealment. The whole package. One night, Maya looked at me across her desk and said, if we report this to his company, he could lose everything. Job, reputation, all of it. I didn't hesitate. He already tried to leave me with nothing. I said, I'm just moving first. We picked a Friday. Divorce papers would be filed Thursday afternoon. His company would receive the evidence Friday morning. He'd be served at work. Public, professional, devastating. On Friday, I didn't go to my office. I sat in Maya's conference room, gripping a coffee I couldn't taste, watching the clock. At 11:07 a.m., she looked at her phone and smiled slightly. It's done. Ethan was officially under investigation, and he had no idea yet. By the time Ethan realized what was happening, his career was already collapsing, and he still didn't know the one detail that hurt the most. I'd understood him the entire time that I turned my phone off that morning. No notifications, no drama, just the silence. Maya said it was better that way, and she was right. I didn't need to hear Ethan unravel in real time. By the time noon hit, the damage was already done. He called 40-something times that day, left voicemails bouncing between confused, furious, and straight-up desperate. Maya listened to every single one, logged them, saved them. He's panicking, she said. That's good. Panic people make mistakes. That night, I stayed at Maya's place. We ordered takeout, opened a bottle of wine, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was shrinking to keep someone else comfortable. I slept hard, deep, like my body finally believed it was safe. The next morning, we went back to the house. Together, Maya insisted, and she brought a police officer too, just in case. When Ethan opened the door, I barely recognized him. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, red eyes. The confident executive was gone. Sarah, please, he started. Let me explain. I held up my hand. Don't. He froze. You've been cheating on me. You've been hiding money. You call my career a hobby. You told a stranger I was just there for appearances. I looked him dead in the eyes. I heard everything. His face drained of color. You don't speak Japanese. I've been fluent for over a year, I said calmly. Funny how you never noticed. Never asked. He sank onto the couch like his legs gave out. The company put me on leave, he said quietly. They're investigating. I could lose my job. I felt nothing. No sympathy. No guilt. Just clarity. That's not my problem anymore. I went upstairs and started packing. Clothes. Shoes. The things that were mine. He followed me halfway up the stairs. We can fix this, he said. Therapy. I'll end things with her. We can start over. I turned around slowly. No, I said, you don't want to fix us. You want to fix your reputation, your paycheck, your image. Silence. At that dinner, I continued, you said I was too simple to understand your world, that I was just there to look good and keep house. Do you even remember saying that? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. I packed for 2 hours. He didn't stop me, didn't argue, just sat there, staring at the floor like a man watching his own life collapse. When I left, I didn't look back. The divorce took months. Messy months. His company fired him after confirming the violations. The offshore accounts were exposed. Every asset he tried to hide was dragged into the light. In the end, I walked away with half of everything, and something way more valuable than money: peace. But the wildest part? It happened when I least expected it. 2 months into the divorce, I got a message on LinkedIn from Mr. Tanaka. The man who watched my husband disrespect me in another language had a question for me, one that would completely change my future. The message from Mr. Tanaka was short, polite, and professional, but it hit me like a lightning bolt. He said he'd heard about the divorce through business channels, said he hoped I was doing well. Then came the line that made me sit up straight. Would you be open to a conversation about an opportunity? We met a week later. Same restaurant, same table, completely different energy. This time, I spoke Japanese from the moment I sat down. His eyebrows lifted just slightly, like he'd finally gotten confirmation of something he'd suspected all along. He smiled. I thought so, he said in Japanese. The way you listened that night, you weren't confused. You were aware. He explained that his company was opening a U.S. office and needed someone who understood both American marketing culture and Japanese business etiquette. Someone who could translate more than language, mindsets. He said my background was rare, valuable. I accepted the offer 2 days later. Senior marketing director. Triple my old salary. Real authority. Meanwhile, Ethan's world kept shrinking. The investigation wrecked his reputation. He found another job eventually, but it was a step down, less money, less influence. The man who once talked about executive suites was now lucky to have a cubicle. The divorce finalized 8 months later. I got half of everything he tried to hide, plus spousal support while I rebuilt my career. But the real win wasn't financial. It was freedom. I traveled to Japan, built teams, led campaigns, made decisions without asking permission. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. And yeah, it felt incredible. Years passed. I never remarried. Dated here and there. Had one serious relationship that ended kindly. Honestly, no lies, no power games. And that was enough. One afternoon, years later, an email landed in my inbox. From Ethan. He apologized. Said he'd remarried. Said he hoped I was well. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I closed the email without replying. Some people don't deserve closure. They deserve consequences. But here's the part nobody expects. How this all looks 20 years later, and why that night at the dinner table became the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm in my early 60s now. When I look back, that dinner feels like it happened in another lifetime. But I remember every detail. The lighting, the way Ethan laughed. The moment I realized I wasn't invisible because I was weak. I was invisible because he chose not to see me. The divorce didn't break me. It rebuilt me. I ran the U.S. marketing division for Tanaka's company for over 15 years. I hired smart people, mentored young women, who reminded me of the version of myself I almost lost. I traveled across Japan more times than I can count. I made friends who knew me not as someone's wife, but as a leader. I never made my world small again. Ethan? His life stabilized, I guess. Mediocre job. Quiet existence. We crossed paths once at an industry event years later. He barely met my eyes. I didn't feel anger or satisfaction, just distance. Emotional distance is the real consequence. I still study Japanese. Not because I have to, because I want to. I read novels, watch films. Sometimes I tutor young professionals who think they're too old or too late to start over. I always smile when they say that, because I know better. That language I learned in secret, it saved me, not just because it exposed lies, but because it reminded me I was capable of growth, strength, and reinvention. It showed me that respect starts with how you see yourself. So if you're listening to this and you feel invisible, if your dreams get laughed off, if your voice keeps getting minimized, pay attention to that feeling. It's not weakness. It's your intuition begging you to wake up, learn the skill, gather the truth, find your person who has your back. And when the moment comes, choose yourself. Because the life waiting on the other side of that decision, it's bigger, louder, and finally yours.